All good.
All right. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Good. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. So, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's gonna be good. Good interview.
Yes, it's gonna be great. So, can you just, please introduce yourself to the viewers?
Yeah. So my name is Alex Koritsas. I'm currently 22 years old. I was born in Washington D.C. in America to English family. Moved over to England when I was 18 after growing up here, going through the whole academy system up until I was 18. Went to Northeastern University, which Division 1 soccer program for 1 year. Dropped out, moved to England. Um, Started playing semi-professionally over there while continuing going to school. From there, played a season, got various trials at different clubs. Went on to trial at Brentford, which are now a Premier League club, with their under 23 team. Didn't quite work out there. Ended up going to Spain that same summer. Signed with a fourth division club over there. Stayed there for 3 months. Club went bankrupt. Pretty much long story. Ended up at Crawley back in England. Signed there about November of 2019. Had to get about 2 months international clearance to come through. By the time I actually signed everything, all my papers, everything, the Spanish FA cleared me, and a month later, COVID hit. So pretty much everything stopped after that. They canceled the season. I wasn't renewed a new contract for next season, and started this business, and that's pretty much where I am now. Yeah, short and sweet.
So, where are you right now?
I'm in Washington D.C. currently home. I've been back for about 7 months or so. I have family over here. I got family back in England, so I usually travel back and forth. Yeah.
Nice. And are you still playing any football right
Yeah,
now?
I'm still training and stuff, training on my own, various clubs around me. I've sort of made contact with different, there's Loudoun United over here in DC, which is a closer one. Went up to Hartford Athletic, which is a USL club, spoken to a whole bunch of different people, different clubs, just see what opportunities are out there for me. And in the meantime, just growing the business and seeing what can come of it. So still playing, yeah.
Nice. USL One, USL Championship.
Yeah, championship, Loudon or USL Championship, Hartford or USL Championship, and the other one I was speaking to, North Carolina FC, which are League 1. Yeah.
Nice. And like when you're speaking to these clubs, are you emailing them, cold calling, or do you have a personal contact LinkedIn?
Um, a lot of it is personal contact. So I grew up here in DC, so Loudon was kind of already as one of them. That I knew the head coach over there. And then it's also networking, cold calling, the emailing with Hartford happened through in England. So that coach over there is an English guy. So he knew everybody over where I was playing at Crawley and various different clubs. So that was pretty much set up there. North Carolina was actually a cold call. I got the manager's email address and sent him an email with my CV highlights. And about a day later, he texted me and wanted me to get on a Zoom call, and we spoke about that. And then nothing ever came to it, but that was sort of very close to actually signing with that club. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing. And you have to have confidence in order to do these things, right? You got to know the process and experience of how to do these things. So, like, how'd you come across, networking, being able to be this confident to go out and reach? Like, you must really believe in your ability to perform on the pitch, and not only that, to be off the pitch, to be able to network.
Yeah, I mean, essentially in this game, it's not so much about what you know, but about who you know. I'm sure you've heard that before, but it's literally all about contacts. If you go to any single club, professional club, and you have a chat with one of the players and say, "Well, how do you get in here?" Usually, the conversation goes, "Oh, I knew the manager from this place, or I knew the technical director, or knew this player, knew that player." So I always knew the importance of networking and how important it is to build relationships, and that's sort of where I began. As far as confidence knows, I knew I got to that certain level of obviously playing for a professional club and signing with a professional club. That's something you don't really give up on, in terms of you've hit that level and you can be consistently at that level. So when I reach out to these clubs after I got released, it was sort of like, this is who I am. I've played here. I've got to this level. Like, I can definitely fit into your team. And that's the other thing with structuring the way you speak to people. You can't make it seem like, hey, like, would there be an opportunity? I think I can play here like this. It can't be like that. It has to be like, I've played at this club. I've watched various like matches of your team. I'm this position. I can definitely fit into the way you guys play. I'm like this and that on the ball. The way you guys play, possession style based, whatever. I'm perfectly fitted to that style. So that's also the confidence in knowing how to word emails, word when you speak on the phone, just stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I quickly want to really add in what you just mentioned. I mean, this is the book that I wrote that is in the book. It's not about it's about who you know in the game.
Yeah.
Not I'm not too sure if you even seen the book, but I have it in one of the chapters, and then I really like the point that you said. It's not just like about talking. There's a structure. There's
Yeah.
a structure of points that you have to add in into the conversation of networking. That it has to be soccer related. It has to you showed that you have interest in the club, that you've watched game footage, that you understand how they play, and this is what you can do to provide value to the club.
Yeah.
Like that's perfect, bro. Thank you, Alex. Great points.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be personal as well. That's the other thing. Like, I've seen various players come to me and say, "Hey, can you look at my email that I'm about to send to this club?" And it's like, if their player is like they're called Jack, for example, their email, and it's like hi Southampton. I'm a good player. I'm 18. I'm a center mid. What time can I show up for the next training session? Like, you're never going to get a response when you go that route, and it's like, although you're being direct, but there's have to have a bit of personality in the email, and you have to like actually make it seem like you're not sending this mass email to 50 different clubs.
Mm,
So what I always tell people is like, find the coach's name, introduce yourself, introduce, know, tell the coach that you're actually emailing him. Like, make sure he knows it by saying like, "Hi, coach, whatever his name is. I'm interested in joining your team under the under 18s or whatever it is." So he's actually took his time out to research the club and make it personal to the coach you're actually emailing. So that's another thing. Yeah.
facts. So I have six fun questions that I want to dive in with you.
Yep.
The first one is, who's your favorite team?
Personal. Always
Arsenal.
been, always has been. Yeah.
So that's for a long time then. Um,
Yeah.
what about your favorite player on Arsenal?
Uh, it was Ozil before he left.
Mhm.
I think he kind of left out of his prime. One would say when he was at Madrid, but when he came to Arsenal for about a season or two. But I've always loved Ozil because I always just his passing range and his IQ has just been something that I admire in terms of a player. You don't really see that too often with what he can see. So I was always trying to mold my game after Ozil as well. So he's always been one of them. Yeah.
So it sounds like you play in the midfield.
Yeah, play like a number 10 or like a number 8 box to box type. Yeah,
Mhm. What about favorite ultimate?
left. Also,
Pardon?
favorite what? Sorry,
Yeah, your like your
what did you
favorite
say? What was the last question?
your favorite all time player. Like
Oh,
all
all
time.
time player. It probably has to be Henri. Growing up watching him when he was in Invincibles in Arsenal. Every sort of match I'd come down with a little Arsenal jersey on. Watched him on TV, and I don't even know, it was watching something completely different than what you see now in terms of modern day strikers and stuff. So I think Henri would probably have to be the answer to that one. Yeah.
Nice. Well, so the third one is, what's your favorite pair of boots?
Pair of boots. So I've always been switching between Nike and Adidas. But the Phantom GT, I think, have been my favorite so far, which are the Nike ones, obviously. Which I was lucky enough to actually change over from Nike to Adidas because they're sending free cleats over. So I've been wearing Adidas Predators, the new ones with like the little spikes on them and stuff. You've seen those. So I'm wearing those now, and I'm trying to get a new pair fairly soon. So um, between the Phantoms and now these Predators, obviously. So yeah.
So you said Adidas is sending free pairs?
Yeah, well, so like for me, and obviously again the whole networking thing, the last pair I just started getting Adidas boots for free about a couple months ago. So yeah,
Nice. And is it through like a sponsorship agreement, or is it just straight through connection?
it's through a bit of connections and then like a rep that someone I know also knows that they have a Adidas rep in something, so they just sort out a bunch of the guys we know. So it's quite
Nice.
nice.
We might have to talk about that one
Yeah,
after.
yeah, I know, right?
The fourth fun question I have for you: what's the most memorable football moment that you've had?
Oh, I think probably back to the days when I was like 10 or 11. I was very, I was very dominant on the field. I don't think that many people had to deal with a lefty back then. I probably was playing like rec pickup league, like just the standard stuff you do when you're younger. Scoring about 5 goals in a game one time, in front of all the parents and everything. My dad was there, so I think that's probably also has to be the most memorable moment. And obviously signing with Crawley a couple about 10 months ago or so. I think that was probably the most memorable moment. Yeah.
Nice. Um, Fifth one is: did you ever play football in the house and when you were a kid?
Yes, I did. I actually lucky enough not to break anything on top. Like we have like a fireplace and a bunch of pictures and stuff. I'd always kick the ball out the window and stuff like that. But one fun thing that I always used to do was, you've seen all those like teabag videos, like people like catching the tea bag on their foot and like flicking it into the mug, like stuff like that. So I did that a
Oh yeah,
lot. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
get like being like an English family, and like obviously my parents drink a lot of tea, so I'd always get tea bags and fill up a cup and then like record myself or whatever. Like throw the tea bag up, catch it on my foot, and like flick it into the mug like a couple feet away or something. So yeah, that was really fun back then. Yeah,
Nice. And last question, last fun question: who's better, Messi or Ronaldo?
Messi, Messi. Don't even have to hear the end of that question, Messi.
Oh my gosh, why?
I just think I think you can get a lot of Ronaldos these days in terms of work ethic and like how much work you can put in to get to that level in terms of where Ronaldo is. But I think you can put in as much work as you want. That no one ever will have what Messi has right now in terms of technical ability and, I mean, physique obviously, but just the way he moves and the things he sees. I don't think anyone, that's a gift in terms of what he has. Um, and then Ronaldo is obviously hard work. I mean, phenomenal player, but you can all the hard work and that it just goes to prove that sort of you put down that groundwork and all that, you can sort of get to that level. So yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to apologize to the viewers. I know I'm using football a lot, but Alex is
Yeah,
from the UK. I usually say soccer, and then
yeah, that's all good. Yeah. I've always like going back and forth. It's always whatever country I'm in, I'll use that. So
true.
it's a bit, yeah. You can't go to England and say soccer, they'll kill you.
I know, I know. I've been ripped
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
All right. So since the fun questions are over, we're gonna dive into you, Alex. So, Alex, can you take us back in time and tell us where football began for you?
Yeah, so like I said, my parents are English, my whole family's English. My dad grew up in London, right next to Highbury Stadium, which is the old Arsenal stadium. So that's pretty much where the whole footballing journey came from, through my dad. Um, in terms of always putting games on the TV, always taking me out to the park, just us two, kicking the ball, and you need to get touches on the ball every single day, no matter how old you are, if you actually want to take it seriously. And I knew from a young age that this is what I wanted to do, and get to the point where I wanted to get into a professional club, wanted to play for a professional team. So I knew from pretty much 6 years old that mentality of working hard, knowing what the end goal is. I feel like a lot of people these days, it's sort of with their parents, it's like, I want my kid to have fun, obviously, but for us it was sort of, I want you to have fun, but I obviously want you to see an end goal with this as well, and where you can take it. So that's pretty much where this all started in terms of just kicking the ball with my dad, really.
So you said at a very young age you knew that you wanted to play professionally. What age was this?
It was probably 6 years old, watching Arsenal on TV. Like, you see all these players playing in front of 60,000 people, like I wanted to do that. You kind of see the what it takes in those types of players. And just, yeah, it was pretty much just repping that name on the back of your jersey and playing in front of 60,000 people. That's pretty much where it came from. Yeah.
That's amazing. Like at 6 years old, I was playing just for fun, just because
Yeah. I mean,
know. And
yeah.
to know that at 6 years old, that's an advantage right there. And I think it comes down to, um, let me know your thoughts on this, but I think it comes down to the culture. You guys have
Yeah.
that culture. Canada, I I didn't go to a game until I was like 12, 13 at
Yeah,
Toronto FC, their home ground, right? So,
yeah.
I
No,
mean,
it's
amazing.
crazy in terms of like obviously where you grow up in England. If you don't play football, then you're gonna have to work like a normal job or something. A lot of kids leave school when they're 16; they don't end up going to university. So it's pretty much if you come from like a poorer family or something like that, football is your way out. I feel like in terms of here in this country, at least what I've seen is like you could play football up until whenever, and if you're not going to make it, boom, you can just go straight to college or university or something. So in your mind already, you're not really focusing, you're not putting all your eggs into one basket in terms of trying to take football as far as you can because you can pull back a little, still have fun, go through your youth, all that sort of stuff. Because at the end of the day, you have college to go to, university to go to. You just have that support system around you that you don't really get in other countries. In England, rest of Europe, it's pretty much like if you're not playing football or not doing anything, then you know if you don't make it, you're gonna have to go work a normal job because you leave school at 16 with no degree. So which you never see that here. No one would ever leave school at 16 to go, unless you're obviously homegrown player or something special. But you don't really get that over here. Yeah,
Understood. And school's a huge thing in the US. It's very pushed on us. Um, so that's I like how you said it's a seed planted in your mind. So that's something that's already
yeah,
growing. And I really like the point that you share that it's your way out in England. So all your focus, there's nothing in the background about school. All your focus and intention is to go pro.
yeah. You think like Jaden Sancho, for example, is like paying attention in math class when he knows he can be balling out. Like these guys don't think like that. It's all football, football, football. That's it.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this a bit earlier, but I'm just going to ask again. Where do you originate from, and what passports do you hold?
So I was born in Washington D.C. My whole family is English. Everyone in my family is born in England except for me and my sister. So we're first generation Americans. Because of that, I have a UK passport because my family, my bloodlines, everything's English, and I was born in this country in America. So I have a U.S. citizenship. So I'm a dual citizen, which is quite lucky to have. Yeah,
Amazing, yeah, both passports.
yeah.
So, um, you've mentioned it earlier again, but just please mention it again. What teams have you played for, and what was the last club you played for?
So growing up, I played for a local club, Bethesda. I played for DC United for a bit. Went to another team, Arlington, and then went to go play at Northeastern University up in Boston, Division One program. Played there for 1 year, dropped out of university, moved to England. Played for a semi-professional team club called Kettering Town while I was still doing school. Went on trial with Brentford after that for a year. Oh, sorry, went on trial with Brentford for the summer. After left Brentford, went to which was just outside of Malaga. Played there for about 4 months before the club went bankrupt in the fourth division over there, and then went back to England and signed for Crawley, which are League Two, fourth division of England. So that was the last club that I played for. Yeah.
So I have three questions. The first one is, if you don't mind me asking, well, why did you drop out of university, and what were you studying?
So again, like growing up, I knew I wanted to go play professionally somewhere, and I knew that I didn't want to be here in America. Being that I had that English passport, I wanted to use that. It sort of ways my golden ticket out of this country in terms of the system set up. I see, like when I was at university, 18 years old, and you see guys in England making their debuts at 16, 17. It's sort of like you start to consider like am I getting a bit old now, is it a bit too late? So one of the things was remember sitting in my dorm room in university emailing clubs over in England, and one of those clubs was Watford, and I was speaking to their under 18s manager at the time, and I was telling him I just turned 18, like I want to come over, like what opportunities would there be for me? And he said, because of your age, you've missed out on under 18s football over in England because you're 18. So right now you'd be looking at under 23 football, and we're not prepared to offer you a trial because you'd be competing with players coming down from the first team who are injured, getting like recovery back, and then you're competing with players on the under 23s on the brink of first team. And this was when their first team was in the Premier League. So to go from a university team with no professional experience to go into a Premier League club, like the Premier League club's reserve team, it wasn't possible for me then. So it sort of ticked in my mind that I need to go over as soon as I can, because if I wait one more year, 2 more years, it's going to get to the point where it's going to be too late for me. So that's when I spoke to my parents, like, I want to do this. Um, I want to give it a go, and then sort of made the decision to leave and try it. And so I moved to England, not knowing anybody, and then sort of created all this. So yeah.
When you had that conversation with your parents, was it hard? Was it an open conversation, or how was it?
Yes, so a lot of them, like growing up in this country, seeing like how much education is pushed and stuff like that, and they're from England, so and they left school. Like my dad left school when he was like 14 or something, just to start working. My mom didn't go to university at all, so they kind of understand. If you want to sort of hit your goals, sacrifices and risks you're gonna have to take. But in terms of education wise, I left it open to the university to sort of take a leave of absence, is what they called it. So I go over to England for a year, if it didn't work out, I'd come back and resume my studies. So it sort of left it open to give me options. And I when I moved over there, obviously ended up staying there for more than a year. So after that final year that they gave me to take a gap year essentially, um, it was like, okay, are you going to come back now? And it was like, no, I'm kind of on a roll right now. I've been here for a year. I've made all these connections. I've been on trial with these various good clubs and stuff like that. And I feel like I'm pretty close to what I came over to achieve. So that was that, really. Yeah.
Nice. And when I don't know this at all, but if you don't mind me asking, when you communicate to the school and you tell the university that you want to do a leave of absence, do you still have to continue to pay for it, or does the payment stop? How does that all work?
I believe the payments stopped because I was no longer enrolled in any of the classes, and I was no longer enrolled in my accommodation. So like I left my housing, all of that. So there was really nothing to be paying to the school, because I wasn't, you know, yes, I was taking up a space in terms of, their academic books or whatever it was, in their records, but I wasn't paying for housing. I wasn't paying for the food they were on campus. I wasn't paying for books, courses, anything. So that leave of absence, you kind of take it as you don't have to obviously give them the reason why you're leaving, but just in like a personal leave, you don't really have to give them a massive reason why. Um, and they can give you, because that's an option. Not, I mean, obviously players, I did it for my reason, but there are also other people out there who are doing it for actual personal reasons, either they, for whatever's going on in their family. So they have to give that option. Yeah.
Nice. So, once you made that decision, you went straight back to England, correct?
Yeah. After I made that decision, went to England, and then I've been living over there for the last 2 years. Yeah.
So for the viewers, so we can have like a better picture. How old were you when you made that decision? What age?
18.
So 18, you had the conversation with your parents, and then you made the move back to England. And then,
Yep.
so they were in the United States, right?
Yeah.
18. And then you said you have family in the UK. So,
Yeah.
you don't mind me asking, what family members did you stay in the UK with?
So I have family in London. I have family in Brighton. I have
Well,
family.
no, no, sorry, that's too personal. But for a clear on, sorry, let me paint the picture again. So
Yeah.
18,
Yeah.
you were going to school, you had that conversation with your parents, and then you moved back to England.
Yeah.
You have family in England. Okay, perfect. Now, when you went to England, did you have a plan, or did you make a plan once you got to England?
It was sort of, I knew from when I left America to go to England, I already had a school set up over there. That was in terms of the school. I didn't have a club to play for over there. It was in terms of me and my family decided that I wanted to, I didn't want to, but they wanted me to stay in school, continue education, and then you can play with the school team, which I didn't really know anything about. But the main thing was that I was in England at the time, and that's where I wanted to be in terms of exposure levels, clubs everywhere. And I was playing at school, and then the school set me up with the semi-professional team. So I was living on campus at the school in housing with like one other person, while I was doing my studying, and then I do like school in the morning, then go straight to training after school with the semi-professional team. And then it wasn't until I left school to go on trial at Brentford in the summer which they're down in London. So then I left and lived with my aunt and uncle in London for the whole summer while I was training there. And then moved off when I moved off to Spain. They had player housing, so I stayed there for 3 months. And then after I came back to Crawley, they had a house for us, so I stayed with about five other players who weren't obviously from London. So we all stayed in the house together, drove to training every morning, had dinner, like all that sort of stuff, back at the house. And then when COVID hit, I didn't have anywhere to stay. They kicked us out of the club, the housing, everything. So moved into my aunt's house, aunt and uncle's house down in Brighton. So lived there for 3 months or something while we were waiting to see what was happening with my contract for next season and stuff like that. So yeah, it was lucky to have, because obviously I'd have to be spending, probably thousands of pounds by now in terms of like hotel fees or Airbnbs or something if I didn't have family. So that was nice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. You said, yeah, that's good. Family is very important. It's nice that you have that support. But that's insane. They kicked you guys out, or
Well,
did
there
they
was
kick you guys
there
like
was like
up, or
yeah, so there was like no reason for us to be there anymore, and everyone in terms of that house was like, we're not from here. There's nothing for us to do. But there's no training. Like the only reason we had like a nice setup. So like we'd go into training in the morning. There's breakfast there. We had a chef. We'd do training. Then we'd have a lunch after. So we go back to the house after our gym session and everything, like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. We leave at like 8 o'clock in the morning, get back, that around that time. And the only thing we do is cook dinner and go to sleep, then do the same thing over and over again. So without training, it was like we wouldn't have anything to do. So we had a player from Portugal, player from Holland, player from the north of England. So it wasn't necessarily that I said like you have to leave. It was like our decision to leave the house because there's nothing for us to do. So I'd rather, instead of stay in my room from all day, I'd rather go stay with family and try and sort something out on my end, in terms of that. So every single player pretty much scattered from the house. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much how it happened. Yeah.
understood? And how many players did you guys have staying in one space?
We all had it was we had our own room for everybody. My room wasn't too big, but it did its job pretty much. I was just there to sleep, honestly. But we had we had 6 rooms. We each had our own room, and we had a pretty big kitchen, so we'd all like take turns cooking and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, so it was house is about 20 minutes away from the training ground, so we'd all just jump in our cars in the morning and give each other lifts and stuff like that. So, but we each had our own room. It wasn't like we were crammed in bunk beds or anything like that. So, living conditions were quite nice. Yeah.
Nice. And all the players used to stay in this uh, in the housing, correct?
Yeah, and well, not so. A lot of the players who just weren't from that area. It's like obviously all the foreign guys. We lived in this house, but a lot of the players had family, had wives, kids, so they already had houses around London and stuff like that. So they didn't need any housing. They're paying for their own stuff, all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Understood. And was this just a program, or was this like a full on academy?
So this was everything with the first team. So everything at Crawley was all with the first team. They paid for our house. They paid all our bills, like everything. We only had to worry about dinner, like cooking dinner and buying food for ourselves for literally dinner. So that was quite nice in terms of expenses. But everything was had to do with the first team, when we got to Crawley. But when I was in England, or sorry, when I was up at school near Leicester, that was all like the school run program. So with the housing, and you pay for that and all the food and everything. So yeah, that was more of like an academy setup. But once it got to Crawley, it was more like real life. Like, we had guys in with kids. Some of them had to leave like early from, not from a session, but like some of them would leave early from like the lunch or the gym session or something, go pick their kids up from school. Some of them would come late to training in the morning because they're just dropping their kids off. Like it's stuff like that. So yeah.
Understood. And was this the last club that you played for?
Yeah, Crawley was, yeah.
Okay, so this is the club that you okay, Crawley. Okay. So so going a little backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so you play in the midfield. This is just a question for the viewers. How do you train for that position? Is, because for every position, you have to train differently for it.
Yep.
So, what tips do
Yeah.
you have for the viewers?
For me, it was you have to make sure your best friend is a wall. It's all about passing, receiving, turning. I could think of thousands of drills from just putting a cone 10 yards away from a wall. Um, in terms of passing, touching around the cone, turning around the cone, turning the cone, whole bunch of stuff, checking your shoulders, opening up. I had a bounce board as well, so I'd have a wall set up in front of me and then a bounce board off to my right. So it'd be stuff like playing the ball into the wall, opening up, taking a touch with the right foot, then playing your left foot into the bounce board to my right, receiving from the bounce board on the right, doing like touch inside with the inside of the foot, outside the foot, back into the wall in front of you, stuff like that. I mean, you could do thousands and thousands of drills of that, receiving behind the leg, focusing on like scanning your shoulders, stuff like that for a midfielder, which is very important. So for me, it was just repetition and technique and make sure that with a wall, it's good because how you play into the wall is exactly how you receive it back. So if you play a crap ball into the wall, you're going to get crap ball back. So making sure everything is clean into the wall, comes back to you clean, touches are clean, everything. So for me, that was like my best friend growing up, just always kicking the ball against the wall repetition wise. For midfielder, repetition, I think, is probably the best thing to train with. Yeah.
Great tips. So, I like that you said, the pass that you give the wall is the pass that's going to give back. Because it's like if you're passing to a player can
Yeah.
take, control it and give you a better pass back.
Yeah.
You're not getting back what you gave.
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I like that. So we got through that. We got through that. So we're on number 6. We're a couple questions away. So 6 to 14, just a couple more. So,
Yeah.
6. So 8 more questions. So I'll cut that out. But what sacrifices have you and your family made for football?
Growing up in this country, money. It's obviously, it's a pay to play system.
Yeah.
In terms of that, it's been paying for various academies. I'm kind of lucky that I come from that sort of family that we could afford that. Because I know there's so many people out there that I deal with through the business side of things that don't have money to. If they grew up in this country, they'd be like they probably wouldn't be playing anymore. That's kind of like a sad reality of it.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, so that's pretty much what it's been like through pay to play sacrifices in terms of that. It's always been driving in this country. Everything is so far away. The amount of hours my dad's took from work to drive me everywhere, to go to training, to go to games on the weekends, tournaments, stuff like that. Growing up, once I hit a certain age, I can get to that point where I can drive myself there. The university, when I got to the university team, that was obviously a sacrifice for my parents, for that side of it. But growing up as well, you sort of see these things where I got invited out to thousands of parties on the weekend, but I had a game the next day, or I had training at night, and party started at that time, but I know I was training. So those sort of sacrifices with that sort of your social circle. There was one coach said to me, if I can remember it correctly, he said, you have to choose between school, soccer, and social life. 3 things, but you can only choose 2. So you have to make sure if it's gonna be social life and soccer, then you're gonna be crap at school. If it's gonna be social life and school, forget about soccer. Social life or school and soccer, which was for me, you forget about the social life sort of thing. So those 3 things you focus on, you can only pick 2. So that kind of stuck with me in terms of sacrifices and stuff like that, because loads of friends that would they go from training or something, or they would go to those parties, and then that they'd be on the team the next day, and then you look at where they're playing now, and they're working some office job, being miserable, stuff like that. So you can see it catches up with you. So I was pretty much happy with all the decisions I've made. I don't really regret much. So
Yeah, I'd be on the same page as you. But
yeah.
who shared this with you? Who said this to you?
So I don't know if you heard of this player. He's called Joe Zhao. He
Oh,
plays for FC Cincinnati. His dad was my coach growing up. Um,
what's his name?
so his name is Philip Zhao.
Philip Zhao. Shout out to
Yeah,
Philip Zhao.
yeah.
Strong.
So he's been everywhere. He's played men's national team. Like the whole family's played. His daughter. I trained with his daughter, who is better than half the kids that I played with. She's at Duke University right now playing. But like training with Joseph from when I was a young age, and his dad. Obviously, he went off to Hoffenheim, then signed with Borussia Dortmund. Got injured, came back, signed for FC Cincinnati, and has been here since. So it's those are the type of standards that you play with, and the people you play with that bring the best out of you. And sort of, he's a lot older than me, so training with him, it was sort of like, that's where I want to be. And how did you get there? Asking him, did you go out? Did you go to parties? Did you have girlfriends growing up? Like stuff like that. Which obviously, if you have time for it and you have time for your schedule, then yeah, that's good for you. But for me, I know I couldn't really focus on that in terms of other distractions or anything like that. So um, that was pretty much it from a young age. Pretty much just ingrained into my head that these are the things you have to choose if you want to, how far you want to take it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to quickly share that I feel the same way that you feel. I think just recently I've gained a balance of like just incorporating that social more, just due to
Yeah.
COVID and everything like that.
Yeah.
I quickly wanted to mention as well in the book. I'm not too sure. Did you see it? Have you
I've
seen
seen it. I haven't read it or anything yet, but I have
it?
seen you have a book, which is amazing, by the way. But
Thank you so much. I just wanted to quickly mention because since we're on the topic of sacrifice,
yeah,
it's one of the first chapters. I'm not too sure. Can you see
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Sacrifice.
I can see it. Yeah, sacrifice. Yeah,
So it's the first chapter. I always start off with like the number,
yeah,
the title of the chapter, and then I start off with a quote. And this one says, "Success is no accident. It is hard work, perseverance, learning, studying, sacrifice, and most of all, love of what you are doing or learning to do." This is by Pele, one
yeah,
of the best players in the world. And what is it? One, two, three, four, five, six. There's six sacrifices I talk about in the book, and we've mentioned a couple here in the interview. Loss of time, loss of physical well-being, injuries, and stuff like that. You're tired after
yeah,
a practice. Social sacrifices we just finished talking about. Financial sacrifice, a pay-to-play system.
yeah.
Dietary freedom. I'm talking about the importance of having the right diet. You can't be eating
That's a big one. Yeah,
so on and so forth. And then the last one is the journey. But I just quickly wanted to add that in there. It's a new thing that I'm doing of like in the interview, incorporating the book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Um,
got another one for you. I don't. So one of the things as well that my coach told me growing up is like, there's no such thing as luck. It's when opportunity meets hard work.
yeah,
So I thought that was quite interesting. When that opportunity comes up, that's when everything you've prepared for, because literally, as much as you think about it, it does come down to that opportunity. Because if you're not in a team, one player gets injured in your position, that's your opportunity. You see how many guys growing up now that it's like, professional players wise, the reason they're on that stage right now is because their player has been injured in that position and they've taken that opportunity, which happens all the time. So yeah.
yeah.
Fun fact that at Dortmund, actually, that player I was talking about, Joe Zhao, when he got injured, that's when Pulisic was on his come up. So, and they play the same position.
Mm,
So when Zhao got injured, that was sort of opportunity for Pulisic to come up and start playing regular starter in the first team. So, and again, obviously he's taken that opportunity and ran with it. So it's crazy.
yeah, it's pretty interesting how that works. I've two things I wanted to share with you. One,
Yeah.
I love England. England has a very special place in my heart. I love England. Um,
Yeah.
2018, I was in England. I was on a 6-week pilot trip.
Yeah.
One, I got picked up by Reading FC. It's a championship team. Unfortunately, it didn't go through
Yeah.
for whatever reason, right? Long story short,
Yeah.
there was a player that was playing in the Liverpool academy that got injured. I don't remember his name, but Alexander, the guy that plays there right now, what's his name? The right back of Liverpool, Alexander. What's his last name?
Trent Arnold.
Yes, that player.
Yeah.
He was the sub for this player that was training at our academy. But that guy, it's the
Yeah.
same story. That guy got injured. He dropped down, and then Alex took his position, and now Alex is this huge star.
Yep.
It's crazy. And wait, I have
It's honestly crazy. Yeah.
this. The second one, I actually want to share three. The second one is I don't know if you. I'm not too sure if you know Daniel Jebison.
No, I don't think I've heard of him. No.
He's the youngest football player in the Premier League right now.
Okay.
So I know his
What?
brother. I played
Yeah.
with his brother at A and B Academy. and I did an interview with him as well, Daniel Jepson. I haven't posted or anything. I think I lost the footage. I have like little clips on Instagram, but he was from Canada. They went, their parents made that whole shift. Their whole family moved. He has, I'm not too sure if they have any sisters or any other brothers, but they have Daniel Jefferson, um, his brother. Anyways, they made the move from Canada to England. He was young, 16, got into Sheffield United. And now he's playing for the first team.
Yeah,
That's the second one. The third one
it's crazy.
is crazy. The third one, what's the third one? I even forgot the third one because of how crazy that one is. But oh,
Yeah,
the third one, the topic of like a player getting injured and then you coming in to take that position. I never had that experience until I came over here to the United States.
yeah,
I was playing with Naples United in the NPSL,
yeah,
and I don't want to dive too deep into it, but just to share it with you, kind of like offline, I'll cut this out. It was a Hispanic owner, and they had a lot
yeah,
of Spanish players, so on and so forth. The right back was good. I was like, I'm not saying he's better than me or anything like that, but it's like, yo, that's when these thoughts came to my mind. It's like, oh, a player got injured, that's your opportunity, and it's like, wow, like these are things that you're thinking about now, and it's like
yeah,
you don't mind them to happen because like that's your opportunity, and so on and so forth. It's pretty interesting. I've never had that thought before.
yeah. It's a bit weird because obviously at the end of the day you're their teammate, but
Yeah,
you don't want to. I don't know how to make this sound as bad as it is. You kind of you know what I mean. Like you kind of like they get injured, you see them, you're sitting on the bench, and it's sort of like this is my time. Like I can do well here. So but it is what it is. It's the nature of the game. It's competitive for that reason. So
exactly. So moving on to the next one. When did you sign your first professional contract, and how did it feel?
so I signed that in January, the last day of January, January 31st, last day of the transfer window. And for me, obviously, that was that goal for myself. And I think I went out to win. I was in. That's what that night I went out to dinner, had a massive steak dinner with my aunt. They took me out, but it's kind of one of those things. It's what you work towards. It sort of happens. You get caught up in the moment, that sort of thing. I don't think I even had that time after it to sort of sit down and realize, what this means for me now and what opportunities and what this can come from. You kind of just get wrapped in the moment. You're around everyone else who is a professional, so it's not as like, yeah, sort of like a well done, welcome to the team thing, but they've all been there before, sort of thing. So
Mm,
you're no longer that player, that sort of like spotlight player, because you're now in that same position as everyone else. So um it's sort of again, it's a humbling experience as well, because you're not done yet. You're in the last level of professional football in England, and every single player in that team wants to go straight to the top. So everyone is in that same boat. So it's sort of that feeling of, again, that competitive feeling and knowing, okay, you've ticked this one box, but there are thousands of other out there that you need to go and tick. So it's sort of a never-ending cycle of when you're satisfied.
mhm. And just so the viewers have a better understanding, you have number one, the Premier League; number two, the
Yep.
Championship League. What's number
League
three?
League One, and then you have League Two.
League
So
two.
a lot of people say the jump from League Two to League One isn't that massive, but from League One to Championship is insanely big. So those Premier League and Championship, I think Champions League was ranked like number seventh in the world for like highest paid league in the world, number seven, which is crazy. So competitiveness in terms of that level, from jumping from the third to second division, is like none other. So yeah, you pretty much every player in those League One, League Two level want to at least make it to the Championship, because then from that you can move on to the Premier League. It's just a matter of promotion relegation system.
So from League Two, moving up into the system, moving up into League One, is it an easy process? Or
Just in terms of promotion wise, so for the best teams, you have to go through playoffs as well. So the top three teams go up automatically, and then from fourth position to seventh position, you have to do playoffs, so semifinal, final. which that's when that competitiveness, that's where it's there, because although you're moving up in divisions, you're doubling your salary as well, by going up. So that's a massive thing for these players with their families, stuff like that. So the final is played at Wembley as well. So it's, again, it just adds on to the scenes. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much only 4 teams go up. They have the third team, 3 teams go up automatically, and that 4th team has to do a playoff final. And that goes through every single league, even for the championship, to get promoted into the Premier League. Top 2 teams go up, then third team has to do a playoff game with everyone else. So, which again, everything's in Wembley, everything. You don't even want to know the pay raise from championship level to Premier League. It's like, when you're playing that final, you're literally playing for millions and millions of pounds, which is insane. Yeah.
I'm really loving this system because they don't have this system in the US yet. If
No.
they end up doing it, or in Canada. Canada is newborn.
Yeah.
We just started up the league. But I'm really liking the system in England. I knew a little bit about it, the 3 teams regulation and promotion, but
Yeah.
I mean, the way you're explaining it with the amount of details of, their pay getting doubled and how it trickles down and it affects their family and so on and so forth, it makes it really, um, what's a good word to say? Like, it's a part of the game. It's very interesting. It's
Yeah.
intense. It's like, it's their
It's
life.
not only, yeah, it's not only for those 4 divisions in
Yeah.
England. You can start from the 10th division, playing for like your local pub team or something, and that's when the FA Cup starts as well. Any team, I don't know if you know this, any team in England can register for the FA Cup. You have
Wow.
to go through preliminary rounds to get to the first round. The first round starts at League Two, which is that first level of professional. So, like, my team would automatically into the first round of the FA Cup, but every other league below us had to qualify to get there. So there's been cases of, just this last season, a team called Chorley, which are 6th division in England, semi-professional, got to like the third or second round of the FA Cup and played Derby County, which is something that's like would have never happened. A couple years ago as well, a team called Sutton United, which are 1 division below League Two. They just got promoted to League Two, but they made it to the 5th round in like 2017 and played Arsenal, which is crazy. Like, that's the sort of level in England from exposure levels, because like, you do well in that game against Arsenal, every single like club in England is watching you. That's just in terms of exposure levels. Every single one of our games, we had 2 or 3 scouts from leagues above us. I've been at sessions with like England qualified scouts at our training sessions at our ground. It's insane the amount of, like, you see the club list of people that come to the games, and it's crazy. Yeah, you would, like,
That's
you
nice.
playing for like a local, your Derby or something in the league, and you're sitting next to someone like with the Everton badge on, and like it's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really nice to have, like, this is the culture. This is the real
yeah,
football culture. And I recently learned about the scouting system that you guys have. They have scouts all over the UK watching street football, watching
everywhere.
games.
Yeah,
Like, that's that's
chances are any game you play anywhere in England, park leagues, Sunday, whatever, somebody knows somebody who knows somebody at one of these massive clubs. So, and it starts from under, sevens to all the way up until 23. So crazy.
that's what it is. We need that. We really need that in Canada. Hopefully, I'll be able to be a part of
Yeah,
it and install some of this into the system. We'll
yeah.
see. Um, what things changed when you signed your first professional contract in your life? How you felt, your mindset, just everything. Just, share it.
Mindset was in terms of, I knew I wasn't done and I wasn't anywhere near where I wanted to get. You sort of hit those milestones. I got that one milestone, making it into a professional team, all that sort of stuff. I was living what I wanted to do. I always said, like, when people ask what it's like there's no better feeling than waking up every day and going to training. Um, like I said before, like, breakfast is there, your foam rolls are out, everything, training, ice tubs, whatever you want, cleats are out there for you. It's like, you walk into training wearing your t-shirt and like sweatpants. You walk into the dressing room and your kit is all there, numbered, name, everything. It's one of like the best feelings that you probably have as a player, to experience that. Put on your GPS, put on your sports, like everything. it's in terms of that, the mindset is you're surrounded by a whole bunch of players that are in that same boat as you, and you've had players like not half our team, but a lot of our players have played in the Premier League. They're older players that have filtered down through the leagues. So speaking to those players and being around those experienced players is insane to me. The fact that it doesn't really hit until everything stops. For me, looking back on it now, I can sort of, when I speak to people and that, yeah, I've played with players who have played in the Premier League, which is insane to think about. But when you're there, actually there right now, it's sort of like that's a normal thing. Everybody in the team has experienced that. You go to any other club in that league, yep, every single player would have done the same exact thing. So like, it doesn't really hit until you stop playing, which is kind of the sad part. And you sort of think that you take it for granted because in a moment's notice, as COVID came up, everything really stopped for me within a month's time. So, um, that kind of sucked in that regard. But yeah, mindset was there that I wasn't done anywhere near. I was only 20 when that happened. I'm 22 now, so um, that's you have players all the time. We had a player 21 years old was starting every game, scored 11 goals in 11 games, and Cardiff City bought him in the January transfer window for £1 million. So that's the sort of stuff that you want to model and see. It's obviously can happen because there are examples that can happen, like that did with he was a striker, and that's sort of where I wanted to take it from that point. Yeah,
Amazing, amazing. And you know, to have that experience, I know you look back, well, you already mentioned it, but being here in the States, you can notice it even more. You know,
yeah,
it's completely different over here.
yeah.
But
I
when
mean, sorry, like one more, like when I went up to Hartford Athletic for a trial, some of those guys have played international football for like under 23 Ecuador, or like under 23. And I speak to these guys in the locker room, like, oh, I'm going in on trial with Hartford, and speaking to my friends, and oh, they've got this player, they've got that player. Like, it's the players that I've played with or like been a part of and trained with and played with like back in England is like it's nothing compared to what it is over here, which is it's just a crazy thing. And that's it goes back to whole things about like nervousness for going into trials, which I help like a lot of the players that go through me now with the business side of it. Like I could comfortably go in trial with anybody and then speak to someone and be like, oh yeah, I'm playing for um I just came playing for LA Galaxy for 2 years, and I'm like, all right, cool. Like that's a good level, well done. Like I wouldn't get phased by it, but I know hundreds of players where it's like, holy shit, I'm about to pass this guy the ball. Like I hope I don't mess up, like that sort of thing. So that really helps in terms of like the standard and stuff like that. Yeah,
yeah, I've had that experience in England and France. Um,
yeah,
so for me, my process was just day in and day out training, repetition, repetition, getting comfortable. It takes
yeah.
time. I never had that mentor, but you come in as a mentor, and what's the process like? How, where do you start with the player of, helping them in their mind because it's a mindset thing. So
Yeah, I've had a lot of players message me saying like I'm just about to get out the car of the training like for my trial, like what should I do? And I said you need to do the same thing you did yesterday, the day before. Like you're obviously there for a reason. You've been chosen for that reason. Obviously they think you're good enough to play with them. So why should you go in there thinking that you're, how am I going to do? I'm not as good as these guys, but that's not true because the reason you're getting a trial is because they believe that you're either better than what they have already or they want to compare you to what they have. So it's at the end of the day, it's confidence. If they can see when the second you step into the dressing room, if you're not confident, um, if you're not speaking to anybody, if you're sitting in the corner for lunch or breakfast, whatever it is, like that's where it starts, and they pick you up on that. As much as it is how you perform on the pitch, it's a mental game as well because you need to go in there, you need to sort yourself out in terms of being comfortable on the ball, and then you can worry about the social side of it. Getting to know the other players because at the end of the day, when you go to these, I don't know if you've been to any trial events or anything like that, but you're playing with new players for that, that hour and a half, whatever it is. You're not used to how they play, but you need to get in there for a day or two. That's why trials are normally weeks worth because the first week is getting like acclimated to how they play in the system and stuff like that. And the second week is sort of when you actually comfortable and your true colors show out. And that's when they can sort of see how you can fit into the team. So it's a time thing, pretty much. It's all it is, really, confidence and and giving it time and knowing you're there for a reason. That's what I always tell players.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure how it is to answer your question. I'm not too sure how it is in the UK, but in Canada, in the US, there's these pay to play events,
Yeah,
tryouts, combines, whatever they want to call it. And they have a whole bunch of players come out. So yes, I have had that experience of
yeah,
playing with players for like 1 or 2 days or a week.
yeah,
And, you have to just be adaptable,
yeah,
confident,
exactly.
adaptable, and just perform. Everything comes down to performance. But yeah, do you guys have pay to play systems in England as well, or is it just like free trials?
It's if you're good enough, you'll get a trial at a professional club, and you won't have to pay for anything. That's how the trials work. There are a couple companies out there who do that, like trial basis. You pay, show up, get scouted by 15, 20 scouts. But the thing with those is anyone can sign up for that. And for me, being a midfielder, I'm not the quickest. Like I'm not as athletic as like the average player is. But for me, what really stood out for mine was like my technical ability and ability to play around players and break through lines. So when I did go to those events and I tried to play a 1-2 around someone. I play the pass into someone an entry ball and then run to get it again, and I get the ball back at my knee. Like it's stuff like that. And obviously, I'd take a crap touch because it just bounced off my knee, and it looks bad on me now. So it's that sort of thing that I don't really like those events in terms of because those players don't actually get vetted in terms of if they can play or not. But outside of that event, if you get a trial, anything, it's completely free. You play for Arsenal growing up, any club from Premier League to League Two in that academy system. You won't have to play it. You won't have to pay a dime. So that's just how it is over there.
Yeah, yeah, true.
Because the first teams make so much money, all that money filters down into the academy systems. So
It's a good structure. It's a
yeah.
solid structure. So, when you signed your going back a little bit, when you signed your first pro contract, did you have an agent with this through this process, or did you just do it by yourself?
Everything was before myself before that happened. But after I signed, that's when I started getting calls from agents. You have to think about it in terms of an agent's point of view. They want to make money. As much as they say they care about your development and everything. At the end of the day, they're not doing it for free. So that's why it's a bit tricky. Like again, I get players asking me like, how can I get an agent and stuff like that. I tell them you need to sign with a club first because then they'll start coming to you because it's essentially free money in that sense that they take a percentage of your contract. So for me, after I signed, had a whole bunch of conversations with agents because it gets to the point where if you do well at a club, clubs need to actually speak to someone who represents you. That's sort of how it works. Every single player, professional player, has an agent, someone that the club can go through to get to you in terms of your contracts and all the details that players shouldn't really be concerned about in terms of the money and all that stuff that goes through your agent. So I ended up signing with an agent after I signed. I signed a 2-year contract with decently sized agency over in England. Their top player actually plays for Brentford right now. They have players all the way from Championship all the way down to League Two. So, um, but for me, it was more so I wanted an agent because of the connection piece of it. I didn't have business I had, so I didn't know anybody in terms of outside of Crawley. So after that, I sort of knew if something didn't work out, I could have an agent, rely on an agent who has all the connections to sort of help me out for that. Yeah.
Nice, and you know, great points. Once you signed that pro contract, the agents came to you, and you know, was it hard to pick an agent, or was it easy for you?
I had a couple options, but some of them were in different countries. So like I had an agent who wanted to work with me from America, who was just specialized in American clubs, and I was in England at the time. I didn't know anything about how the USL worked. I didn't know anything about any of that. You sort of get that stigma around American soccer that it's not very good. The level like is not very high compared to what it is in England. It was pretty much stuck on my mind that I wanted to stay in England. Even after COVID came, they canceled my contract. He was telling me, "Yeah, I can get you into this place, back home in America," but I didn't want that. So I ended up signing with the English option because I wanted to stay in England. um, and you have conversations with them. Again, it's about that money point of view, that they kind of sell you or sell themselves as an agency. We have these players at this club. We have contacts here, here, here. Like, that's sort of how they get you. If you don't get into this club, yeah, well, no worries, we'll get you a trial at this club. If you can't get signed here, we'll get you signed there. That's pretty much how it works. And of course, as a player with no options right now, because I just got released, it's sort of like a no-brainer to pick that up, because it's free contacts. And yeah, that's pretty much how that decision came up, knowing where I wanted to go next. Yeah.
Nice. And if you're not a player with a pro contract, do you think it's still a good idea to get an agent, or is it even possible for them to get an agent?
Yeah, you can get an agent whenever you want. It's not the player's decision to get an agent, it's the agent's decision to sign that player. You can send them all your match video, your CV, and they'll use their own contacts to decide if you're worth taking on, and if you're worth to make, to represent and potentially make money out of. If I was an agent and you sent me your CV and your highlight video, and I thought you were good enough for a specific club that I know really well, then yeah, I'd bring you on, get you in for a trial, hopefully you sign a contract, and I sign you to my agency. That's how it works. But there's so many players out there who think that they are good enough, and I've had players send me, like, I'm sure I can play in a professional club. They send me video of themselves, and it's like, you can't even pass a ball in a straight line, and you think you can get in a professional club, let alone get an agent as well. So that's the sort of things that agents take you on if you're good enough, and they need to see that video, they need to see your CV, they need to work with you, because at the end of the day, they need to sell you. And if you don't have anything to sell, no video, no CV, they're going off of just a word basis, and that's not good enough. So
Understand. So there's a certain criteria in order to meet to then get an agent, for an agent to sign you and
yeah,
give the player access to their contacts.
exactly, yeah.
Great points. Um, so sorry.
Okay.
So where has football led you now? You're 22. You're in the U.S. right now.
It's a weird place for me, obviously, because if COVID never happened, I don't even know where I'd be right now. I probably would still be back in England playing. Um, it's things happen for a reason, obviously out of your control. Football for me now, knowing that you've sort of had that stamp of approval that you played in a professional club, so you can go and approach other clubs because you're already of a certain standard. So that was sort of the easy part for me, coming back home with all these different clubs. For me, the timing wasn't too good when I came back, because clubs were already in preseason, clubs were already signing half their team. When I went into all these clubs, they already had their 28-man roster. Their international spots were filled up, but I didn't really need one. It's just in terms of their different options that I came in at a rough time. And that's sort of where my options led up in terms of this country. When I sort of looked at getting back into England, I had several trials already lined up for last month that I obviously didn't go to. COVID started picking up again with a new variant back in England. I would have had to quarantine for another 2 weeks, get tested twice a week while I was there. All these clubs wouldn't be able to pay for my housing, my accommodation, my food, my travel, anything that was provided for me before all this happened, just due to budget cuts that happened with these clubs because of COVID, and they lost so much money. So it was sort of a decision on myself to, when the move comes up for me, and when the right club comes out with me, like right financial circumstances, I can sort of jump on that. But for me, it's growing right now, growing the business and seeing how far I can take this in terms of amount of players we can help, and what opportunities and what sort of we can set up down the line. So that's pretty much where I am right now. And if obviously, if COVID wasn't a thing, I wouldn't have this business right now, because I'd still be playing. And so in a way, it's sort of a blessing in disguise. So, and I enjoy it as well. I enjoy helping all these players as well. So, and seeing all these success stories every day, with players sending me like, oh my god, I just got this response from today, was the academy manager or recruitment manager at Everton, like, I would never have thought this would happen, he's coming to my game next weekend. Like, it's stuff like that is crazy. Yeah.
Nice. So for the viewers that don't know what Alex is talking about, Alex, please, I'm gonna actually share my screen and blow this up so they know what you're talking about.
All right.
And if you guys want to go check it out, check it out. Let me just share my screen real quick. Desktop, share. Can you see my screen?
Yep. There you go.
Perfect. Okay, guys. So Alex, this is all you.
Yeah.
So you're running an online business. It's called ukfootballcontacts.com. So yeah, tell us what it's about.
Yeah, so essentially for me, where I got to where I was today was through networking and getting contacts and emailing, knowing the importance of emailing clubs, either it's a cold call or whatnot. I've emailed thousands of clubs and gotten no responses, and then sort of digging into that, why did I get no responses? Because I was sending my emails to those general inquiry emails listed on clubs' websites, like those info@arsenal.com or trials@arsenal.com, stuff like that. So those emails don't really go to anybody because of they put those emails up there, so that's a reference point for players to email, and there are thousands of emails that go through those addresses every single day. For me, I knew that every single coach in that club has a sorry, my dog's barking in the background. Every single coach in that club has their own personal email address specific to that club. So everyone gets these opportunities, and for what I've created for players to reach out to academy directors, academy managers, academy coaches, head of recruitments, anything in the club, and send them your CV, your highlight videos, introduction, anything directly to that club, that coach, as a way for them to actually see your email. I always compare it to like sending a text message to someone. They're going to see it, or it's going to get delivered to them. And it's up to them to obviously open it, and they're going to see it in their inbox. It's up to them to open it, not and respond to it, if they're interested, stuff like that. So yeah, I now have every single league, professional league in England, from Premier League to League Two, every single club. I have every single MLS club, every single USL Championship club now, and every single A League in Australia club now. We're working right now to get every single club in Holland right now, which I'm working with another agency right now. And that's sort of the next step for us to expand into different countries. We've helped players in Holland, Belgium, America, England, Scotland, France, Spain, Australia, Germany, Hungary, Romania, like players from everywhere get these contacts with these clubs. So yeah, so you can get the direct emails for academy coaches, all those sort of members of staff. And then the next piece is, what do I write to the coach? And we have email templates as well, which is a personal email that I wrote myself, that I use personally to email these clubs and get my responses and get the trials. The only thing is different is that I've left certain blanks for you to fill out for your name, the club you're interested in, stuff like that. So a lot of players have used the email template, which is like a well-organized professional email. It's grammatically correct, everything that coaches want to see, that you're competent enough to write an email and communicate properly. So you fill in the blanks, copy and paste it back into your email, type in the email address we give you from the website, and then hit send, and then that's sort of it. So yeah, that's it. We got the important thing is the disclaimer. We get a lot of people that sort of say, I didn't get a response. Well, we can't really control what the responses are. We can't guarantee you get one. You can't guarantee you get a trial, your email get read, anything like that. What we guarantee is that your email does get delivered directly and successfully to your chosen contact. Because like I go back to that text message point, I can send you a text and you can choose not to respond to it. That you can see it, but you might not respond to it because you're not interested. So again, if you see a well-written email with a good resume and a good highlight video, like there's more likely for players and coaches to respond to it, which is pretty much how everything works. Yeah. So
Yeah, so I'm about to go and show you guys how this works. So I love how simple this is. So step one, you choose your league plus clubs below. Step two is you add it to the cart and you check out. Step three, directly email any academy coach at your chosen club. Step four, receive a response, build a relationship, and earn a trial. So as you scroll down, you'll, whatever club that you guys want to, play in. If you're in America, you want to play in the MLS, USL. These are your two options. If you're in England, or if you want to go to England, these are your four options right here. So I'm in the States right now. I'm just gonna choose, MLS. I've actually already bought one of these guys. I've bought the Toronto FC. It's a great package. Basically, you simply get to choose whatever club that you want their contact info, as Alex already explained. So I'm gonna go with Inter Miami because I've been to their stadium. Their stadium is beautiful. David Beckham. um, you know, Over here is the product description. Add to cart. Boom. View cart. Very, very simple process. And then down below, you guys get an opportunity, as Alex explained already again, to boost responses with these packages. So Alex, if you don't mind, can you explain these four packages that you
Yeah. So the networking guide is something that was originally, that's one of my first products before I got into all the direct emails. And the networking guide was a guide to show you step by step how I found every single email for every single professional club. It's a 12-page PDF. It's sort of like a little ebook into the way how I use all my techniques, in terms of, going from basic stuff to LinkedIn, to going on to clubs' websites and messaging people that don't even have anything to do with the soccer, like, or the football side of things. For example, Inter Miami, like, a lot of people wouldn't know this, but if I'm a striker, for example, and I want to get a trial at the club, and the only email listed on the website is the head of tickets, you know, you wouldn't really think to email that person because, why would I need to worry about tickets? I want to get a trial with the club. But in fact, these people work with each other every single day in the club, in the stadium. Everyone sees everybody. Everyone knows everybody. You send an email to the ticket department or the ticket head of ticket sales or whatever. Let's say their name is John Smith or something. Hey, John, like, I'm interested in getting in touch with someone at the trials. I can't seem to find anywhere on their website to email. Can you pass me on to the head of recruitment? Can you give me their email? A lot of the times they'll respond and say, yeah, I'm not the right person to speak to. Here's the head of recruitment's email. Here's the head coach for the under-19s. Here's his email. And they have the email below. So it's those kind of little tips and tricks to sort of get to where you want to be. And again, at the end of the day, it's networking. So that's what the guide goes over. Those sort of like tips and tricks to sort of get all the emails that I got when I was growing up and to where I got to today. And then you have the email template, which is a pre-written email by myself that I used again growing up to get all the responses and trials I got. You fill in the blank specific to your name and yeah, fill it out, copy and paste it and send it off. And then that last one, the football CV, a lot of players don't really have a professional, set up as their resume. In their email, they'll list like a 10-page email about where they've played and everything. But if you just fill in a football CV, it's essentially your resume, your name, your height, weight, position, preferred foot, playing history, all your references, all your coaches that clubs can play, contact, and yeah, playing history, everything. So just some more tools and templates for players to use, and then you buy all three of them together, you get like £5 off or something. Yeah. So.
Yeah, this one right here. So I'd highly recommend you guys to get this package right here. This is the one that I added as well to my purchase. And again, it's just to help get in contact, to network, and I haven't used it yet, but this is very useful. I wish I had this, a year or two back. Again, like I've mentioned earlier to Alex, as this platform right here is amazing. This is powerful stuff right here. So
Yeah, thank you.
all you have to do once you have, your products in your cart, view cart, and then you're simply just gonna check out. Let me see. You guys already have my information because I already made a purchase on this website. But yeah, basically just fill out your information, complete the order, and you'll get an email sent to you. Let me see. Okay, let me see if I could show you guys just to see what is it
Then
called?
you receive like a something in your email for like a confirmation, and then like to download the products, and then also on the website in the thank you page, after the checkout, you'll get everything in a video to watch as well. Which is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So as you guys could see, I'm on the UK football contracts. Oh my gosh. All right. So as you guys can see, as you guys can see, I'm on the ukfootballcontacts.com. This is my account right here, Kareem Rae. As you guys can see, this is my profile picture. This I use this profile picture for Instagram, my Gmail, for everything. But unfortunately, I can't show you guys my orders here because I created that account after I made the purchase. But let me minimize this in my emails. Because as mentioned before, I purchased the TFC package. So basically, you guys will get an email sent to you saying thank you for your purchase, so on and so forth. And then you get the downloads right here. You'll get two emails. And basically, what you'll be able to do is download, save it, and this is going to save directly to my desktop. This is the email format. I'm not going to show you guys this, but yeah, that's basically how everything works. I don't want to show them. You guys got to go get yours. So yeah, check it out. ukfootballcontacts.com. As mentioned before, I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
So what are three tips you can share with the viewers, with aspiring soccer players, footballers that want to go pro?
So first one, consistency, training as many times as you can. For me personally, it was 6 days a week after school training, a weekend on my own if I didn't have a game. Just training pretty much every opportunity. Like growing up, there was never a time where I was sitting at home and I was like, okay, I'm bored. Like, what am I going to do right now? Because every time that did happen, I was like, okay, I'm going to go outside and go kick the ball around, do something. Because at the end of the day, you need to be touching the ball as much as you can, because again, it's about repetition, consistency, stuff like that. Second tip I'd say would be sacrifices. We touched on that before. Sacrificing a bit of that social life, not going to parties, nights before games, minimizing those distractions, taking those sacrifices in terms of whether it be traveling, expenses, if this is what you want to do, going off to a trial or going to a new team or something, which again is part of sacrifices is taking risk as well. So stepping into, I always tell people, like, if you're ever comfortable somewhere, you shouldn't be, because you always need to be looking out for the next thing for yourself. you know Another thing is, like, for me, I was never satisfied with where I was until I was playing in the Premier League. So yes, I did end up playing for a professional club, but that was the first stepping stone for me. So players that aren't even in a professional club, like, if your goals need to be to get into that club, taking those sacrifices, those risks, having goals, because as soon as you hit that one thing, whether even it be like making your varsity, like, high school soccer team, like, that's not the end goal for anybody. So taking steps and taking goals, sacrifices, risks, stuff like that. And then third tip I'd say is contacts. Again, we touched on that. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Networking, putting yourself out there, taking opportunities to meet new people, new coaches, because I guarantee you, every single player on your team has come from a different path, has come from a different program, team. They know different people, they know different coaches. This is just a little, like, fun fact for me. When I was playing in Spain, one of my teammates was an English guy, and he used to play for Peterborough, which are now a championship club. And I got speaking to him, and next thing I know, he was giving me the academy manager's phone number, and I got on a call with him and was texting him all pretty much after I ended up leaving Spain. So these are contacts, and you speak with people because everyone has been from a different part of the world. Everyone's been and played in different clubs and different leagues. They know different people. If they know people in clubs that they know you're better than them, yeah, they'll get you contacts, because they're your friend. They want to see the best out of you. So at the end of the day, it's all about networking. And that's pretty much how I got to where I was in building this whole thing. So I think that's probably a very important one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, Alex. Again, and before we go, where can the viewers find you personally on any social media platforms that you have?
Yeah, so our business Instagram is at UK Football Contacts. You can follow me at my personal Instagram as well. I'm tagged in the bio of the business one as the owner. I actually had an interview that was aired on TV about 2 weeks ago for a local station in DC. So you can go look at that. You can see my journey as well as watch this interview. Where I've come from, all that sort of stuff, how I built the business. You can check that out, my personal Instagram, and see where I've come from. I get a lot of people ask me like, what you do I've never really seen before. Is this a scam? Or like, is this real? That sort of stuff. I always tell them, go watch the interview on my personal page. Go look at my personal page, see where I've come from, see the places I've been, that sort of stuff. So yeah, and everything main thing is on Instagram, so that's where we're building, trying to get to 10K by the end of the month, so
Yeah, you
we
guys
shall see. Yeah,
and where can we find that video? I definitely want to go watch that.
yeah, it's
Where-
on my personal Instagram, alex.koritsas, on that, tagged in the bio of my business Instagram, and it's the most recent video I have posted. I reposted that video, so
Awesome.
yeah.
All right, guys, go check that out. Make sure you guys also go get a copy of my book. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Enjoyed that.
Yeah, Alex, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this interview with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, had a lot of fun. Enjoyed that. Look forward to watching this back.
Awesome. All right. Man, this was awesome, bro.
Yeah, that was fun.